Hello, fruit and veggie lovers of the universe. Welcome back to another episode of my raw vegan journey with Angelie. How are you today? Today is a beautiful day. The sun is shining. It's Sunday. And, in the midst of everything going on, we can still keep a positive mindset and things can actually work out for us. Today, I'm going to be sharing with you my top 15 or so tips to prepping, food prep in case of an emergency. So, and this is for raw vegans, all right, especially fruitarians. Now, raw vegans can eat just about anything. Most of them eat legumes and nuts and starchy foods like beets and carrots and potatoes, but for the fruitarians it might be a little trickier because most of us don't eat starchy root tubers and things of that. We basically eat what we could forage for if we were out in the wild and there were no fires. So we mostly eat fruits and tender leafy greens and succulent vegetables and sometimes nuts and seeds. So without further ado, I have my notes here. So if you see me looking down or something, I have to take notes because I want to make sure I cover everything. This is very important for me to make sure that I cover it all. So I took notes. Okay, number one, greens. Get your greens in. Okay, how can we preserve greens? Well, you can dehydrate them. And if you follow the 80-10-10 diet, I know this is not optimal. And it's really not optimal to ferment things because that creates things in our belly that even though they give us good probiotics, there's a lot of opposite effects that fermenting can have on our bodies. So we don't want to ferment them. With that being said, we can dehydrate them or make kale chips, something like that. You could use like an almond-based dressing or an avocado-based dressing if you don't want to use nuts, because avocado is a lot easier to absorb and digest than nuts are. So if you want to make an avocado creamy base to pour over it, then you're also getting the fats necessary to absorb the vitamins A, D, E, and K. And with our greens, we can dehydrate them and turn them into chips, or we can dehydrate them without anything and then finally grind them into a powder and store them in a seal-tight jar and use those in smoothies. Like you could make a banana smoothie and add your greens in that way, especially if you have access to growing greens or you find them on sale and you want to stock up on them. This is the best thing to do. Stockpile your greens, dehydrate them, put them in airtight jars, and mark a date on them. And you can use those in a case of emergency. And you can still get your greens. Now, they may not have the water, which is something that we really, really want out of our food, is the water content, because it's probably the purest form of water we can get. But we want to have the water in our foods. But in the case of an emergency, say that everything shuts down, or like right now, the shelves are pretty empty, well, the next best thing, at least you're still getting your nutrients and you're still getting some source of food. You can dehydrate them. Okay, all leafy greens work with this. You could also incorporate spirulina and chlorella. That comes in a powder already, and you can get chlorella tablets. And those, even dulse flakes. Dulse flakes are good for iodine, so have some of those on hand in your pantry. Okay, number 2. That was what I just said, dulse flakes. Dulse flakes is number 2. Okay, so we already covered that. Number 3, raw crackers. You can make raw crackers if you have a juicer, a blender, a juicer or a blender, because either one will work, a food processor, and a dehydrator. You can make raw dehydrated crackers out of vegetables. And it's as easy as juicing up some celery and some carrots. And I know carrots is a kind of a crossover. It's still a little bit starchy, but it's not as starchy. It's palatable and it's somewhat easy to digest. But when you're looking for food sources, it's not quite optimal to be quite as picky when it comes to making stuff of this nature, I find. So I do carrots. I do celery. I love celery. So you could juice some carrots and celery and use a minimal amount of flaxseed to kind of bind it together. Again, this is something, because you're going to be wanting your calories, so, and you don't want to eat these with fruit. Don't mix these with fruit, okay? Because mixing carrots and fruit is a no-no. Celery and fruit is okay. But then there is also a rule not to mix any extra fat with your fruit, because it slows down or inhibits the absorption of the sugars and getting the sugar in and out as fast as it needs to go. So I would suggest, if you're going to make the crackers, have those without any fruit, like in a salad meal. If you actually have, fresh salad, stuff to make a salad, and even if you don't have any fresh greens, celery keeps for a while, and tomatoes and zucchini and yellow squash, bell peppers. You could make a salad out of that and have the crackers, or you could make a salsa with tomatoes and avocado and dip your celery in your crackers, or there's the possibilities are endless of what you can do. But anyways, that's number 3, raw dehydrated crackers made with veggies and flaxseed. You can use chia seed too, but I think flaxseed is the best when it comes to being a binding agent. Okay, so number 4, dried nuts and seeds like Brazil nuts, walnuts, almonds, hazels. Brazil nut, one Brazil nut will give you a daily value plus of selenium. So you can eat one Brazil nut a day and get your selenium needs. And then your walnuts are good for your brain. And almonds, they all have vitamin E. Hazelnuts are really tasty. Then I would strongly advise against cashews. One, they're not really raw, and you can't eat raw cashews because they are considered to be toxic to the humans. Raw tahini, chia seed, pumpkin seed, sunflower seed, sesame seed. These are all good sources of protein and fat. And again, do not eat those with your sweet fruits. You can get by with eating these with acidic fruits like pineapple or oranges or grapefruits. I think kiwis is an acidic fruit. Those are good choices when you want to combine a fat with a fruit. Otherwise, keep the fats and the fruit separate, okay? Again, with the sugar absorption and getting it through your body. Fat, I mean, if you think about it, you can people preserved meat with fat. They put fat or put the meat in the bottom of a barrel with water and then cover it with a layer of hard fat. Nothing got in or out, okay? Well, think about your body. If it's layered in heavy fats, nothing gets in, nothing gets out. You don't absorb your minerals and your nutrients, and that causes malnutrition. One way to know if you're not absorbing your fats, and I know this might sound a little gross, but we're on a natural diet, so we might as well talk about natural things. One way to know if you're not absorbing your fats is look after you have a bowel movement. If it sticks to the toilet, chances are you're not absorbing your fats. Okay? That's just one. Disclaimer, I am not a doctor. I'm not a licensed nutritionist, but I have had 6 or 7 years of extensive study and research because of health conditions so that I could learn how to become healthier. And I used to weigh close to 300 pounds also. I am down to 180. So major progress. One of the side effects of eating a healthy fruit diet, you get thinner. Okay, number 5, dehydrated vegetables. While these are not water-rich or in their whole form and fresh, they are a good substitute to get you through hard times. If, say for instance, like what we're going through right now with the situation at hand with the coronavirus. I hate to say that, but I mean, I don't want to center my video around that, so I will briefly mention it. But this is, at this time, this is what we're going through at the time of this recording. So people are out there stripping the shelves down. I mean, there's no toilet paper. The produce shelves are quite empty, and they're restricting how much of things you can get. I could only get 4 bunches of bananas at Aldi yesterday. Fortunately, I had someone else with me, and I had him purchase 4 more for me, and I purchased some more from another store because that's one of the main sources of my caloric intake and my source of energy. So, and they're cheap. I mean, I get bananas at Aldi for 35 cents a pound, the organic, that is. The non-organic are 25 cents a pound. So if you don't care about organic, hey, 25 cents a pound goes a long way, especially in times like these. Okay, so you can, I like sweet peas. I digest those pretty good. And again, some things are up to each individual. You may not digest certain things as well as others, and you may digest some things better than others. So follow your body's needs. And this is just what I do. So if it works for you, hey, it makes me really happy. If it doesn't, figure out what does and go with that. But, you know, still follow the guidelines here on how to prep for those times when things may seem a little bleak, and it's a good idea to be prepared for any situation. I mean, we're coming up on the rainy season. Spring is around the corner, and it's going to start raining, and there's thunderstorms, and there's lightning, and sometimes the power goes out, and it could go out for days. And what are you going to do? I mean, if you're got stuff in the freezer, it might thaw. If you got stuff in the refrigerator, it's definitely not going to keep. And some fruits will keep for a while, like apples are pretty hardy. Tomatoes hang out for a little while, I've noticed, and oranges keep really well. Grapefruit keeps really well. Bananas keep pretty good, but you know, it's a good idea to always have something in stock in your pantry that you can rely on if something happens. Any natural emergency could happen at any time, and we want to be prepared for that, especially raw fruit vegans, because we're not going to eat something out of a can. It's dead. And we're not going to eat beans because that's not part of our natural diet. We're not going to eat anything cooked. We can't. I mean, we could if we wanted to, but really? Eating cooked food, we might as well not eat anything at all because it's just not nurturing. Okay, so I'm still on vegetables. You could dehydrate your vegetables, like if you eat corn or peas, zucchini, celery, carrots. You could chop those up into little small bits and dehydrate them and put them all together in a jar to make an instant soup. So you could rehydrate that with water, and you could warm your water up to at least 105, 110 degrees and still keep, the enzyme action going in your veggies. They might not be in their whole form, and the water might not be as good as the original water content because, in my opinion, the original water content is the purest form of water you can get in any food. But they will be life-saving nutrition for you in a pinch, okay? All right, so let's move on. Number 6, sprouting seeds for growing fresh greens. So you can still have your fresh greens winter or summer. If you live in a cold climate, I would highly suggest getting a grow light or a couple of grow lights. Set up a place in your house. If you have a basement, that's great. Set up a grow system in your basement where you can set up trays under grow lights and you can grow your greens. And you'll have fresh greens all year round, no matter what the situation, as long as you keep a supply. And you can let some of them grow. I like to get peas and make pea shoots because those are really nice and tender and sweet. And they're even more digestible than the actual peas. Because, think about it. The pea is the seed and it's holding all the nutrient to start the plant. So it doesn't want you really to digest it because it wants to live. But once you put that pea in the ground, then it forms up this little plant and it says, oh, okay, I'm ready to be eaten now. And so you can grow some aside for reseeding, and then you can use some of your seeds for your sprouts and your microgreens and your pea shoots and things of that nature. But as long as you have a good supply, seeds will last indefinitely, especially in cold storage. So if you put them in a cold place like your cold cellar or your basement, they'll keep indefinitely. So stock up on sproutable seeds, and then you can have your greens. Okay, number 7, dried fruits. Okay, dried fruits, again, they don't have enough water, but make sure you keep a stock of dried fruits because that is condensed calories. You won't have to eat a whole lot to get your calorie content or quota for the day. But you will want to drink extra water when you're eating dried fruits and dried anything. Anything dehydrated is always going to require you to drink extra water. So think about how much water would have been in that and drink twice the amount to make up for it. Not all at once, of course, but throughout the day. Okay, if you have fruit trees or if you're growing fruits or berry bushes and stuff like that, if they're in plenty, you can get the ones that are ripe and start dehydrating them. Because if you have a fruit tree, I have a peach tree out in my backyard, and this year I know it's going to give me a good harvest. I am trusting the universe to make it so, and I'm going to start putting back some fruit leathers so that I will be able to access my wonderful, beautiful, organic peaches throughout the next winter or through the next season. Okay, but when you dehydrate your fruits, never go over 115 degrees and make sure you slice them thin enough so that they will dry appropriately. And you want to get them into glass storage jars. Plastic is not really good. 1, it can rupture, and 2, it can leach things into your food that you don't want. And 3, well, plastic is just not good. Let's go with glass when we can. Okay. But if you already have plastic that you are reusing, you could use that for like a quick on the go to pack a snack, or use some Tupperware or little plastic dishes that have lids. You can use those, reuse. Those are reusable, and those are acceptable, I guess, for backpacking it and taking food on the go so that you'll have something to eat while you're away from home. Okay, number 7. Now, there's a lot of controversy about this one. I eat it because I'm not that anal about my diet, but raw honey. A lot of vegans will say that they don't eat raw honey because it comes from an animal. And while a bee is a being, a sentient soul being, they provide honey, and it is a complete amino. They have the amino acids in it, and it's a good source of calories. And it's just plain sweet. It tastes good. So if you eat honey, get you some good quality raw honey. It will keep indefinitely too, especially if it's unfiltered and raw. Okay? Number 8, spices. Now there's some controversy about spices also, because some say that they are toxic and some say that they can help heal. I'm still researching this one, so I still use some, but I'm aware now. And I'm aware of how my body feels when I use them. And if my body is actually trying to get rid of them, or if it's accepting them. So I'm paying attention to how my body reacts. I go for days without using anything that has spices. And then once a week, I'll attempt to make something with spices like marinara sauce, raw marinara, to go over some zoodles. And I'll see how that goes with my body and also with my bowel movements. You know, when you're eating a natural, healthy diet, your bowel movement basically should not smell, and it will more than likely smell like what you ate. Okay? And I've had that happen when I made my raw marinara, my raw spaghetti with zoodles. The next day, I smelled it coming in just like it went, going out as like it came in. So there's some truth to that. All right, let's move on. But if you do use spices, stock up on your favorite spices. Dried spices will last 6 months to a year before they lose their oomph. Okay. Number 9, coconut oil and fermented cacao. Now, these two are not a necessary item, but they're nice to have on hand. I don't eat the coconut oil. I use it for toothpaste and or rubbing on my skin or for massages. It's really great for giving massages. I also have some sunflower oil that I can use for that too. So sunflower oil, coconut oil, those two are good. Sunflower oil, especially with vitamin E, that really helps the skin. But I use coconut oil and fermented cacao to make toothpaste. Just 2 ingredients. Don't have to add no sweetener because it's just perfectly sweet. It's not sweet. It's not bitter. It's just perfect. And I use it like you would for an oil pull. I swish it around for a little bit in my mouth and then I brush my teeth. It really gets rid of the plaque and the tartar, and just they say it whitens your teeth. So, hey, but think about this. Cacao has so many wonderful nutrients in it that help remineralize your teeth, like magnesium and other things that I just have slipped my mind right now because it's not that important for this list. But anyway, that's number 9. Number 10, dried citrus. This can be rehydrated in a jar of water. I know that you're familiar with infusing orange slices or lemon and lime and maybe some mint or something in a jar of water, stick it in the fridge overnight, get up the next day and drink it, and then eat the fruit. The same concept. When you dehydrate your oranges or your lemons and your limes, you can stick them in some water, rehydrate them, let it infuse, and then drink the water. It's such a tasty treat, and you still get your nutrition and you get your vitamin C that way. So I would highly suggest that. Dehydrating some of those for the winter time. Oranges are abundant in the wintertime, but again, we're talking about in an emergency situation if it happens that you can't get access to them, you have some dried. And there you have it. Okay, number 11, mason jars. Jars with lids that seal. It is very important to have mason jars to store your food in, because for one thing, it's glass and it's airtight and you can seal it. And number 12 is a hand pump, or you can get a food saver machine that runs on electricity, but it would be better to have a handheld pump that doesn't, in case the lights go out, so you can still seal, when you take something out, you can seal it back up and keep the air out. Air equals decay, so that if there's no oxygen in your fruits and vegetables that you've stored, then they last longer, okay? So, 13, a wide mouth jar sealer, or two different ones that fit both wide mouth and regular mouth, both quart size, pint size, or even a gallon size. I don't know if they have those. They might. I'll have to look for one. But you want jar sealers that you can hook that pump up to. And I will put some links in the description box on Amazon to show you what I'm talking about with these things, in case you aren't already familiar with them. I learned this from Heidi over at Rain Country, and I will link you to her too, if you'd like to go and watch her video about jar sealing. I'll have to find it though, but I'll get you links to it as soon as I can. Let's see, number 14, plastic bags, or better yet, make handmade bags. Whew, say that 3 times fast. Make some handbag. You get it? To carry your dried fruit if you're going out, if you have to go to work, or if you're going to visit someone, or you're just going out shopping. Not too many restaurants and stores carry enough foods that can give us our caloric intake. I'm going to give you an example. I won't say the name, but I went to one store and they have a salad bar there. And I was shopping and I got hungry and I thought I need to eat. And I looked at the salad bar and there was nothing that would give me the amount of energy I needed to complete my shopping. Nothing. Because, as you know, most vegetables are low calorie and you have to eat pounds and pounds of them. And at $8.99 a pound for vegetables, I don't feel like eating 5 pounds of vegetables to get enough energy to do my shopping. I ended up finding a bunch of bananas that was ripe enough to eat. They weren't ideal, but they did get me through. This because I didn't have anything at home to bring with me. So I was at the mercy of the store. So, it's good to have your own food to pack with you, because most stores aren't thinking about fruitarians or vegans. I mean, well, they're thinking about vegans because they're putting vegetables on there. Of course, they're thinking vegans are mostly vegetables. But for fruitarians, there's hardly any places that have a complete fruit bar where you can just get all this delicious, wonderful, ripe fruit and be satiated and get your nutrients and your caloric intake fulfilled. So it's a good idea to pack stuff to take with you no matter what. And dried fruits are really good for on the go, I have found, if that's all you have. But plastic bags, if you already have them, why not make use of them? And you can put them in those to go. And you can wash those out and rinse them and dry them and reuse them until, well, you just can't use them anymore. But there are other videos on YouTube that show you how to make cloth reusable zip bags using beeswax as a coating, as a waterproof coating, so that you can just wipe it down. There's all kinds of videos on that if you want to go over on YouTube and check that out. Okay.
Number 15, water. Have plenty of water on hand. You can get gallon jugs and fill them up at most of your groceries for 29, 39 cents a gallon. Make sure that it's clean, purified water, and have lots of it on hand. Okay, that is the top 15 things that a raw vegan fruitarian needs to have on hand in case of any emergency situation. All right, this has been Angelie with My Raw Vegan Journey. Remember, if you like this video, please click the subscribe button, tap the notification icon bell for future video uploads, and leave a comment if there's something you would like to hear me talk about or research and give the information that I find on it. All right, thank you, and have a wonderful, fruitabulous day. Peace.